What's up, guys? I'm Tori Griffith, and today I'm talking with Chris Gordon on Hellblazer Biz.
Everyone, I have the honour and the pleasure of the company of Tori Griffith today, who plays Rosie Maddox in Elkhorn. So, Tori, hello, thank you for joining me.
I'm happy to be here.
So, yeah, as I say, I brought you on from Elkhorn, which is where you've recently appeared, because I've only watched 3 episodes. Episode 4's not available for me to watch yet.
What?
I
I
know.
that. I don't know what happened with the upload with that, but it
Yeah.
was on, it was on INSP, but yeah, not especially internationally. I don't think it's viewable, but I love episode 4. I can't wait for you to see it.
No, it'd be great. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing it. I was trying to watch it today and I couldn't find it. So yeah, it's obviously something. I think it's the YouTube. You say INSP. It's it's fine. I think it's just the YouTube side. It's not worked for some reason.
Oh, that's too bad. So you haven't seen Rosie and Dow meet yet. If you haven't seen
No, I haven't. No, so that's part of the big story.
Yeah, it's like I don't want to talk about too much or give spoilers away, but for
You can. It's fine. I don't mind. It's obviously people have watched. I don't. You can carry on.
you don't mind, but the network minds if I give
No,
spoilers away.
Yeah, but if it's aired though, hasn't it? So
That's true. Episode 4 has aired, so
yeah. So there's no spoilers.
Rosie
I'm not
and
gonna.
Dow, they have a little connection going on.
Cool. Yeah, I see. I won't get you sacked from the network. Don't worry.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little too late. They already have me in like 7 episodes this season. So.
That's true. A bit too late
they're
for
a
that.
little too late for that.
Excellent. So, starting off then, I've got a few characters. So Rosie's obviously come in episode 3. That's when we first meet her. So how would you describe Rosie in 3 words? I'm asking this question to everybody.
Only 3 words? Oh god.
Yeah, only 3 words. What 3 words? Oh, there's probably quite a few I can think of.
She's I'd say she's scrappy, ambitious, and kind-hearted.
Oh, okay, cool, yeah.
Those are my 3 words to describe her, yeah.
Okay, as I say, I can get that from the small amount that we've seen her so far. Well, I've seen her, so I can see where that's going into.
Yeah? Oh, good. Okay, I'm not too far off on that. It's funny, like when you know a character so well, coming from the audience's perspective, where they don't know the character yet, it's like, okay, how do I make this make sense? Because it makes sense to me. But when the audience has only seen so much, and they haven't done all the character work that an actor does, it sometimes doesn't translate. So I'm glad that worked.
Exactly. So how did you actually prepare for research then? Because that was a question further down the line, but you just mentioned it. So with your working on the character, how did you research to go into the role, and any particular inspirations or references that you used to become Rosie?
So especially when I'm playing a character that's like from a time period that I have not experienced myself, hence the Victorian era, the 1880s in North Dakota. I like to read books that take place around those times in those like certain parts of the world. So I actually read Cold Mountain.
Okay, yeah.
Incredible book. If you haven't read it yet, it's insane. And I just kind of like to get into the psyche of like a woman back in those times. And Cold Mountain, even though it's written by a man, it does like a really great job capturing the female perspective of that time. So I read that, and I read The Coffin Quilt, which is essentially the Hatfields of McCoy story, but it's centered around the love story that actually took place between Rosanna McCoy and John C. Hatfield. So, there was like a little bit of a Romeo and Juliet thing there.
Right.
And without spoiling anything, there's a little bit of that theme in Elkhorn season 1, especially with my character. So that kind of just helps me get into the zone of it. Although in Elkhorn it's not as dramatic as the Hatfields and McCoys, thankfully. Because that's a lot. But yeah, I'd say my greatest character references when I was developing the Rosie character was like Ruby Fuse from Cold Mountain. She's had to raise herself essentially in the wilderness. I think it took place in like the Carolinas or something, so it's not exactly the Dakotas. But she kind of has, Rosie very much has that, like, that scrappy vibe to her. Like, her parents died when she was young, so she was raised by her aunt, who is a frontierswoman. So I feel like, using some of those, like, character elements from Ruby Hughes really helped me create Rosie. And then Ada Monroe, you know, like the love interest in Cold Mountain. There's a little bit of Ada in Rosie as well, just for like the romantic side of it. That's mainly what I use. And then I love to create like a storyboard for like the environment, the universe that I think like my character lives in.
Yeah.
Just like kind of get some visual context. And then I also always create a Spotify playlist for every character.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, so I ended up at the end of filming season 1, I think I had like 120 songs on my playlist. So I have quite the little stockpile of things that I can pull on if we do get a season 2. I can just kind of jump right back into it.
Excellent, excellent. What kind of songs would be on your Spotify playlist then for a Western?
Oh, it was a lot of like country folk music, like
Right, okay.
mainly the band Goodnight Texas. It's just like this like kind of, it's not pop country by any means. It's more gritty. It's like I feel like it just has like a little more of a classic Western country feel.
Right, yeah.
And you know, anything with fiddle in it was like, oh, that's perfect. You know,
I was about to say anything with a fiddle, yeah.
And it's crazy because like I love the fiddle. I don't know why. I've always had this like fixation on the sounds that a fiddle makes, and I think it's some sort of like cellular memory thing. But I just go crazy for some fiddle music. So honestly, I had a great time. I was like driving to and from set, pumping my country folk music, just like jamming out to it. It was awesome.
Excellent, excellent. I've got to say, I never really liked country until a few years ago. Well, about 10 years ago. And
Really?
I just switched it on.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, I go into country music about 10. And there's lovely, there's a great feel to it. And the fiddle, especially with country music, it does transport you right back because they keep it very classic and very, like, very
That's what I
original.
loved about country folk music, is it doesn't seem like the country music nowadays, because like I have nothing against modern country music, but it just doesn't do it for me nearly as much as like the country folk, because it just it just sounds like from, you know, a different century, and that's kind of like why I used it, because it kind of put me right into the perfect spot for this.
Excellent. And women should walk into a bar and they're there fiddling away, stomping their feet.
Oh
Bit of
yeah,
straw hanging out of their mouth.
You know, in our finale episode of the season, I'm gonna say this because there's no spoilers really involved, but there's like a big dance, and they have a live band and fiddlers. It was so cool. Like when we were filming that episode, they had a live band playing the music for us. So like obviously, you know, in post they're gonna put in playback, but we had that real music, so that was so much fun. It was literally music to my ears.
Fantastic. Oh yeah, obviously that's why you get research of the character and then for them to play it for you.
Exactly. I'm like, great, I don't even need to listen to my playlist. Like I'm there. I'm in it. I'm dropped in.
Excellent, excellent. So what do you think Rosie's main motivation is, or driving force? You know,
I think she doesn't want to be just like every other woman that she sees around her. She wants to have like her own life. She wants to have her own path. She has like a lot of dreams that were not, you know, normal for women to have back then. And that's what I really love about the Rosie character. And I think, you know, since we've only seen up to episode 4 thus far, people can kind of already get that from her. And it's really cool because in episode 3, you know, she's just working as a maid in this kind of ragtag hotel, and then Medora comes in and she kind of turns her whole world on its head and is like, okay, this place is going to be more upscale now, and you're the manager. And I think up until that point, like Rosie knew that she had it in her. Rosie wanted more, but just didn't see how she was going to get that opportunity. But then in that moment, Medora gives it to her. And, you know, that's also part of the reason I love the character Medora, is like she's a woman that's not adhering to the typical female cultural types that were very common back then. Like she is a Medora and Rosie, they're like feminists before feminism was even a thing. And so I really love these characters because of that. So I think Rosie's like main motive in general is just to live her own life and to be independent and to just do what not really many women have done before.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, because Medora's character is fantastic, and you know Ashton, Medora does say hi. You know, she messaged me. She's like, "Tell Tori Medora says hello."
She's so sweet.
But yeah, so it's very strong character. Even when I was talking to Jeff, the Marquis de Morez as well, and he was saying how much of a powerful relationship they had, and in real life, Medora she was she was the money, she was the power.
She wore the pants, which is
Yeah,
so
yeah,
great for that time,
exactly.
especially like in the Old West, like
Oh
where
yeah,
social
very.
constructs were so like powerful. Medora
Mhm.
she wore the pants, and I think the Marquis didn't really have a choice because she was the money, but
Yeah,
it's just really cool because you just don't hear about that
no.
ever. This is like historically accurate as well.
Yeah, exactly. I think Jeff was telling me as well. I think after the Marquis died, or was killed, sorry, because he was killed in a duel, wasn't he? She went on a campaign because she thought the government were involved, apparently, and she went on a campaign for several years afterwards to try and prove that the government were involved until, and because she wouldn't let it lie. She was that devoted to him, and they were that devoted to each other even after he was murdered. She
That's
was
crazy. I
trying.
didn't
She
know
went on.
that.
No,
So
I
she,
didn't either.
not only was she like the first feminist, but she was the first conspiracy theorist as well.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
Wow.
I'm sure he said it was the government were involved. But he said there's something. She thought there was something involved and something sinister, and she carried on. And she carried on to try and prove it.
She's a smart lady. What can I say?
She is, and and obviously Ashton just plays the
I
absolute. I can't
know.
even speak perfectly.
I couldn't think of a better person to play Medora because I mean it's so funny because Medora has like her evil streak and Ashton is quite literally an angel. Like she is
Yeah, she's the complete opposite of Medora.
she's the opposite, but she plays it so well and she
Yeah.
plays it so dynamically because she has this like duality in her. And that's I think what makes Medora also like a very likable character is because she does have this kind of like sweet side, but there's like a lot kind of simmering under the surface. So she's so much fun to watch, and just even like watching her work and working with her, my performance got so leveled up playing against Ashton because she's so good. Like I didn't even realize how kind of reliant actors are on each other to have a good
Yeah.
performance. And, obviously, if you're like you're Meryl Streep or you're one of the greats, like it doesn't really matter. You're gonna be amazing no matter what. But when you're like at my stage in my career, like you are so heavily reliant on who you're working with. And I didn't even realize how, in the past I have not really experienced that until I worked with Ashton. She was just so incredible. She was so in it. And she was so like generous. Because a lot of times actors will be really selfish and they'll, give 110% when the camera is on them for their record. But the second the camera turns around, they're not on camera anymore, and it's with their scene partner, and they just like drop it completely. They go, they're like just basically reading off the page. But Ashton was always like giving 110% no matter what, whether she was on camera or whether it was my coverage, and that just made everything so much better, I think. And I really had such incredible scenes with her, and honestly, I give it all to her. She's incredible.
Oh, fantastic! When I spoke to her when she came on for the film that she'd just done, and she said then even on days off she was down on set because she was looking at the girl who played the younger version of herself.
Wow.
And she actually went on to watch her,
that's brilliant.
and so she could get her mannerisms and stuff so that she could then play them in the
That
older
is so
version.
smart. I don't doubt that at all. Like she's so devoted. That's incredible. I really want to see that movie. It was funny. I was
good.
like Ashley, like when is it happening? When's the area? She said it's gonna be in the theater, and then it was in the theater, and I was out of town that weekend. So I was like, no. So one of these days I'll see it.
Yeah, it'll be coming soon. I've seen it when I did it, and it was a good film. It's very powerful.
I want to see it myself. I do.
Yeah, it'd be great anyway. And the scenes that you've got obviously as Rosie, because this is what we're here for yourself, is with with Medora. That's where we first, we do introduce, and all of a sudden, like you say, she becomes the hotel manager, and Medora's like, off you go. And then, but she's always in the background. So Rosie's there trying to hold her own, and and the guy's accusing her of the thefts and stuff in the room, and all that kind of stuff, and which could be obviously scary, especially in those times. To be fair, of any time,
random guy's room, like that is not, especially when you're dealing with like thieves like that, or I mean, just like they're seedy people. So she saw her life flash before her eyes. Let's just say that. And thank God Medora was there to kind of like clean up. I don't think Rosie was very used to espionage. So with Medora,
She
you know,
wasn't
protecting her
very
as the
subtle.
only person she can get out alive. I will be honest.
Yeah, I think Rosie wasn't very subtle at that one, to be fair.
No,
But
she was not. And Rosie's also, I think Rosie's a terrible liar, and that's how I know she has a good heart, is because like she couldn't even come up with like a good enough lie.
She's like,
Why she was just like
completely stuck.
ooh.
Exactly. And again, that shows is a good character, and it shows the Rosie's true character, which is, like you say, very sympathetic, very nice, and
Yeah.
but she has got that sense of adventure within her.
Does, yes.
So yeah,
But I think she's got very strong morals, she's very ethics based. So that's why like in episode 3 she's really struggling to want to even do that, even though, these are bad people she's dealing with. Just the thought of like, breaking into someone's room and going through their stuff is like giving her a panic attack. I'm like, yeah, this girl's got a good heart. She's a legit good ethical person. Can't say the same about myself, but Rosie.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. I'll 911. Marking notes down here for you.
Edit that out.
Never invite Tori round for a coffee.
Tori scares me.
Yeah. This is my show notes, yeah. Excellent. No, it's good to hear. It's great to sort of have that vibe coming from it, and that connection that you have with the character as well. What challenges did you face portraying her? Because we've touched a little bit on it, and we've gone through the backstories of did you actually add your own extra backstory in there, or which wasn't in the script or anything?
I think in order to like really bring a character to the screen and bring them to life, like you have to know their whole life story. And luckily, like I had a couple of months to prepare before we started filming. Like I was offered the part in February, and we didn't start filming until like mid-May of last year. So I had like a few months. Now, when I was offered the part, I was in Vancouver filming like a Holocaust film, so my head was like deep in the world of the Holocaust. I couldn't really break apart until like mid-March, when I finished filming that, and then it was just like right into Elkhorn. And then I had like about a month to do my own preparations, and then we were into rehearsals. So like a big challenge that I actually encountered that I can see it now, because like if you see me, if you watch me, I talk with my hands and I'm very expressive. I am not by any means still. I I have like, I think it's pretty obvious that I have ADHD just by the up that I move around. So when I was in rehearsals, like some of the producers that were, very hands-on, they were like, "Tori, we love your performance, we love what you're doing, but your mannerisms they're just too modern. Like you need to realize that women back then, even though Rosie is scrappy and she is, a different type of woman, like she's still gonna be more contained, because that's just simply how women were back then." So that was harder than you can believe for me to like feel natural and be like bring myself into the character without being able to move around like a crazy person like I usually do. And one point, one of the producers, she came over to me and she was like, "I love what you're doing," but she grabbed my hands and she's like, "Keep your hands down here." So like just kind of getting that into my body of like, okay, Tori's in Rosie, but Tori's mannerisms need to like calm down a little bit. That was definitely a challenge. But you know what helped actually was getting into the costume. Like when I had like the Victorian era dress on, I found that my posture straightened up, not just because it was all tight and like hot, but it was just like it's crazy how that can really help you drop into a character's the costuming, and that really, really helped me. But in rehearsal, when I was just wearing my normal clothes, when I was, in the scenes, I was really struggling with that. But yeah, luckily when I got into the costumes, I was kind of able to straighten up a little bit, be a little more contained. And I even like I've been watching the episodes and I still see I'm like, oh, I'm still moving around a lot, and I thought that I was being still as heck. So maybe season 2, I'll
you'll be able to get still again.
Down. Yeah, I'll calm down a little bit. I think Rosie needs to grow up a little bit. Season 2, she'll be a little more contained, and the producers will finally get what they want.
Excellent. I know exactly how you mean, because I've got my whole pen in my hand because I'm trying not to do to keep my hands here.
I feel your pain. I do.
So yeah, but that's fantastic. And that was another question of mine, was how the characters work. So I'm doing it again now. Look. How's
I
how
think
the
we're just
character?
feeding off each other at this point. Like, I
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
think I can even talk with my hands this much.
Yeah, the character's wardrobe. Obviously, we've just touched on that. That's all question I had. So it's interesting to know that as well. And a few others, like Matt, was very elaborate on getting the duster coat and just standing there and just
Hmm.
getting into the character. And I can imagine that, especially with the Western and the Victorian era, because it's a
Oh yeah.
very different type of costume. So especially
So
for women,
different.
because you've got the corsets, which just
Thank
you,
God they did not make us wear the corsets, because honestly, like, I would have probably passed out. Like, and I mean, I hope there is nobody watching the show going like, oh, these women aren't wearing corsets. That's not accurate. But it would have been like this close to cruel if they had
yeah.
made us wear the corsets, because we were filming in Acton, California, in
Hmm.
like 100+ degree weather. We were filming from like May to, I mean, some of the cast went through November, but my filming like outside dates were May through October, so
Hmm.
we were going right over the dead of summer. And now my outfits, luckily, most of them were like cotton, so they
Right.
breathed a little bit more, but I had one or two costumes that were made from wool or from velvet. And I
Hmm.
know for a fact all of Ashton Medora's costumes, those were all like velvet and wool and fur.
Oh, man.
Like,
Yeah, yeah. You can tell
she
they're so heavy.
she had it so much worse than I did, because Medora, she's gonna have more money, she's gonna have nicer clothes. Oh, you just lost your pen. What have you
No, yeah, I was hoping you didn't notice that.
Nothing gets past me. Well, oh yeah, like Ashton definitely had it worse than I did. She was always like, she never complained, which is incredible. It's because
Hmm.
she would just be there, just like fanning herself, and I'm like, oh, I could not imagine what you must be feeling like, because I was in my little cotton dress, and
Yeah.
I'd be like with pit stains, like. At one point, I think it was over 100 degrees this one day, and we were filming on the Hotel de More set.
Hmm.
And luckily, the set, again, it's a functional set, like
Hmm.
4 walls, a roof, and they had air conditioning that they built into it.
Right.
But of course, when you're running audio, the air conditioning is going to compromise
Yeah,
the
it's gonna.
audio. So, whenever they yell action, they have to cut that off. And like, it was crazy, because it'd be nice and cool, and then I
Hmm.
swear, within 15 seconds, you would just feel the heat seep in. So this one day, we were on the hotel set all day. It was over 100 degrees. I was wearing one of the cotton outfits, and I was sweating so profusely, like through my deodorant, that there was sweat rings. Actually, I'm getting it right now. You can literally see it. I have hyperhidrosis, so it happens. But there was sweat rings
Hmm.
literally around my arms, and I heard over the walkie-talkies on one of the assistant director's walkie-talkies, like, hey, can we
Hmm.
do something about the sweat? So they it was so bad. So they had to bring in like air dryers, and I had to like lift my arms up, and they were like drying me off. It was,
Oh God.
you know what? Honestly, after a certain point, when you've been doing this long enough, you just don't have dignity anymore.
Yeah.
You're just like a circus animal, so you're like, I'm not even embarrassed. Like, just get me dry so it doesn't show up.
Excellent, excellent. I would say, and yeah, with the corsets, you would have made. I mean, you go back to Titanic and watching Kate Winslet trying to get into, and I just couldn't imagine it. I'm
Oh
quite
god,
rotund
no.
myself, so of course it would be quite good to make me look slim for once.
Nice little snatch.
Yeah. But yeah, I can. Yeah,
That
it's,
hourglass figure.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, just I'll just bulge out the top. I'll be looking like a cartoon Tom and Jerry or something when they put a bin over you.
No, no. I think it'd be quite becoming on you, Chris. I do.
Okay. So yeah, no, yeah, that's. I'm glad he didn't have to wear the corsets, because I say in that heat, that's part of an old-fashioned dress that I think is quite well done not to have anymore.
I'm glad that we got rid of that. If
Yeah,
if this country hasn't progressed that much, at least we got rid of corsets.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are probably some people want to drag it back to that era, but never mind.
Honestly, corsets have become a trend again. Now, like, they're not the same like rigid ones that they wore back in the
Yeah,
1880s, but
fishbone, weren't they, back in those days?
yeah, with whalebone.
Mm.
But yeah, they've become a trend again. But people are just like wearing corsets as tops versus corsets underface. So it's a
Yeah.
little different.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, honestly, I have so much respect for women that lived over that time period where it would be over 100 degrees and there were no air conditioned sets. They
Yeah,
were
having
just
to live.
there in their double layered velvet dresses with whalebone corsets, and
Mhm.
they were passing out, and women didn't really live past the age of 35, but
Yeah, any wonder, yeah.
exactly. Yeah, you wonder why the mortality rate was so much different than it is nowadays.
Yeah,
Huh.
exactly, yeah.
Wonder
Maybe
why.
maybe it's because they were getting squished into these clothes.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen a couple of the obviously costumes as well for the other because at the moment we've just seen Rosie. I've just seen Rosie in those kind of loose dress, but if I remember
Yeah.
rightly, I've seen other costumes through social media from you and Ashton when you do your fit checks on set with which are quite funny. But I love that chemistry because speaking to all of you and as someone, I mean, doing what I've done this for 8 years, I love talking to people and actors and stuff because I love
You're good
finding out.
at it. So
Oh, thank you. um, you make me blush now. So it's yeah. Actually, I can't rattle some words now. So it's trying to talk to different actors and stuff, and you speak to them, and we'll find out about the how you work together. And everyone I've spoken to from Elkhorn, you seem to have just gelled so well, and you can
we
see
got
that.
honestly, we got so lucky because, I mean, when you're spending, you know, 10, 12, 14 hours a day with these people and like you really don't have a whole lot of alone time,
Mm,
you just really hope that you're gonna like your castmates. And I'm gonna be honest, like, not every set that I've been on has been that way. Like,
yeah,
I've been fairly lucky in my career where I've never really had like issues with people, but there have been sets where I'm like, you know what, we're not really feeling the love with each other. Like,
yeah.
it's kind of like okay, I'll stay over here, you stay over there. We'll come together for the scene we need to, but
Hmm.
that's that. But with all of the Elkhorn cast and crew, frankly, like the entire production was like, such good people.
Yeah.
Everybody was like really enjoyable to be around, and with Ashton specifically, because she and I spent so much time together. And like
Hmm.
the people I spent the most time with, given the fact that I had like the most scenes with them throughout the
Yeah.
season, was Ashton and Garrett. And I got so lucky with both of them because they were so enjoyable to be around. Like with Ashton, she and I just instantly clicked. She's just such this like warm person, and we had like
Hmm.
such great, just like friendship history, like energy instantly. So I was really relieved with that. And with Garrett, like he's just such a really sweet, decent guy. And I mean, when you're working with someone, virtually like every day that you're filming, when you're with them, you spend a lot of
Yeah.
time just staring at them while they're like
Right.
setting up
Hmm.
camera or lighting. And it can be really uncomfortable when you're not comfortable with that person and you're just there
Hmm.
like staring and you've run out of stuff to talk about. But with Garrett, we would honestly both just completely dissociate and be staring at each other, and neither of us, at least I wouldn't be uncomfortable, and then we just
Yeah.
bust up for no reason because it was weird. Like, I
Well, so
mean,
I wouldn't be able to do that. I'll just look. If I had to do that, I'll just sit there and as you can see from us laughing at you through again, that's what I'll be like. I'll just like that, and I'll just end up bursting into laughing. Someone
exactly.
say,
Like, but it's just so much fun, honestly, and like it's great to find that comfortability with your castmates where you don't have to like be on all the time
hmm,
because that can be really draining when you're
yeah,
feeling like you have to be like forcing yourself to be social when you can like surround yourself with people where you don't really have to like spend a lot of energy. That's amazing. And with both Garrett and Ashton, that's exactly how it felt. Like nobody had to be on or like wearing themselves out
yeah.
to prevent it from being like uncomfortable. It was just like, okay, yeah, we're not gonna talk for 20 minutes and we're just gonna stare at each other, and that's great with both of us. Like that's perfect.
Fair
So
enough. Fair enough.
yeah.
I guess it can be awkward. I remember seeing. I went to see Nick Frost once. Give a talk
Oh
about when he brought his book. It's a few years back. I went to see him, and one of the stories he said, talking about obviously people. This is related because it was just
yeah.
reminded me talking about people who are difficult on set and maybe not as easy to work with. Because he said
Ooh,
there was a certain particular film. And I'm trying to. I'll say you'll know exactly which one I mean. Hopefully,
yeah.
if you know those films. It was one which him and Simon Pegg were on. It was with some police, British police in a little village. If you remember, yeah. And and apparently there was one of the actors there, very well known, Might have had 007 in his name at one point. It's fine. No, I don't. He's not going to watch this. He can't sue me. But yeah,
What if he does though? What if he
yeah,
does?
no, yeah.
Right now.
He literally he was born about 15 miles from where I live. But anyway, but yeah, they said he was so.
Knocking on your door and be like, I know what you did.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was. They said he came on, and when he was very difficult and awkward. But he was very professional. But he was so he'd come on set whenever he was off set. They would walk around, and they get the entire crew laughing because people like Nick Frost and Simon Pegg coming. I am an actor. I am acting. Quiet, everybody. I am an actor. Shush. You cannot talk to me. I am an actor. And that's what they've said. They did that every time he wasn't on set because they said when he was on set, that's how he put himself across.
Oh, a prima donna. Honestly, like that's what you had. Like that's kind of the fear as an actor is either being perceived as that. I mean, obviously, like when you're trying to do your job as well as possible, like you need to do what you got to do. So if you do need ultimate quiet, like there's a kind and polite way to ask for it, which doesn't make you seem like a jerk. But I mean, if you're like a cool, decent, easygoing person, you know how to just like, do your thing without making it a big deal, like without being a prima donna, because nobody likes a prima donna. No one, no matter how big you are, no matter how talented you are, nobody wants that, and it's just so not necessary. And in the end, nobody is that important. And
exactly.
when people take themselves too seriously, like you're just asking to be made fun of. Come on.
Oh yeah, exactly. I did an extra work about 15 years ago in a World War II documentary, and Michael Sheard. He played Admiral. I know, looking at the time, because I'm talking anyway. Admiral Ozzel. He played Admiral Ozzel in Empire Strikes Back, and he played Hitler in Last Crusade, Indiana Jones. If you remember, he was really nice. And I remember going, and they told, do not speak to the actors, because you're just an extra. Do not speak to them because they won't speak to you. He goes, don't do this, don't do that. And I went there. I stood at the hotel reception. I turned around and he was stood next to me, and I was like, "Oh my god!" Because I'm a huge Star Wars fan. So I was like, "Oh my god, it's Admiral Ozzel! Oh my god!" I didn't say that. I was just like sitting there, and he turned around and goes, "Oh hello," and he introduced himself, and then he drank us dry. 2 nights in a row, he sat with us, and he drank us 5 hours solid each night. He drank with all just us and the other couple of lads who were the extras. He sat there and drank us all under the table and told us all stories about Star Wars. And stuff like that.
That's the best. Like those people that are so chill. Like for I think I was like 16, 17, I did a movie with Martin Sheen. And I was like, oh, he's such a wonderful guy. I have nothing bad to say about him. Like I was a really small, like, supporting character in it, like couple lines. Most of which ended up getting cut in the final thing. So I think I ended up with like 1 line in the movie, and he was like one of the leads. But he was like the most down-to-earth person on set ever. Like he had his own, special dressing room trailer, whereas the rest of us were in like, the common holding area. But he'd be coming out and hanging out with us and eating fried chicken from Crafty and just like telling stories. And at one point we were shooting, it was over 100 degrees in like downtown LA. And he invited a couple of us to sit in his air-conditioned dressing room. And we're like, he was like, come on. And he was just like the most lovely person. And he's a very religious man. So he gave me a rosary that I still have, not that I'm necessarily religious, but I'm like, Martin Sheen gave me a rosary. I'm going to keep it. When celebrities who have such like a huge amount of clout can be that down to earth and that just like human, I think that's like the coolest thing ever. And I mean, it's not necessarily, it shouldn't be such like a novel thing as it is, but it totally is, because a lot of time people at that level completely lose touch. So
fame gets a bit to them,
Exactly, the fame gets to them, and it's just really cool when you see someone who is at that level where that has not happened, or they've like just gotten back in touch. It's amazing.
Oh yeah, definitely. There's another story I heard back in the 80s, I think, and there was a guy who said he used to work and do like the roadies, on set on production sets. And they were lifting boxes, and they said this guy came over and he started helping them out with the luggage. He goes, "I'll give you a hand," and he started helping all the luggage and all the equipment, lifting it and taking it, And they didn't realize who he was because they were quite new. And then all of a sudden, someone came over. He's like, "Mr. Candy, where are?" He goes, "You're due on set. What are you doing?" He goes, "I'm just helping the lads." It's John Candy. And he just rolled his sleeves and he was helping all the roadies carry all the kit in, because he said, you're all cool. And I was just, I just love that story, because it's, but he's right, you're right. It's when people like that, and just like that's why I love you guys, because you're all like that. You know, you just you all come across like, which is great. Makes
Oh,
my
that's really sweet. Thank
makes it
you.
great to talk to. But you can feel that presence. So when you've got have that mix of people on set, it makes it so much more
Yeah.
worthwhile.
And it's so crazy because like I've been on sets where there are people who aren't named talent. Like I always feel like poorly for these people that act this way because typically they're just frustrated. They're not at the point in their careers that they want to be. Like I totally get it, but like the most difficult people I've worked with, the most difficult actors I've worked with are people that haven't done much and they feel the need to like put on this kind of persona to be perceived as somebody that's like worthwhile, that as
Yeah,
somebody that's successful. And it's such a huge turn off, and I feel like it really just works against you because like good things happen to good people, and when you're not acting as a good person, like when you're
hmm
not working in that energy, I just feel like it so works against you. And sets, like film sets, are such a time to make connections, and people really remember how you act on a set. So if you're constantly complaining or you're putting the production down, people are going to hear that and you're not
yeah,
going to be called back. So not even just for the purpose of continuing working, it's just being a good person is so important no matter where you are, but especially on a film set because everybody's working their butt off,
yeah.
and there are so many people that are doing so much more than you are and they're not complaining, so why are you? I feel like it's just good to have perspective in that sense, especially on a set.
Brilliant, brilliant. That's very, really good to kind of hear that kind of that ethos that you've got to go on there. Is there anything else apart from Elkhorn? Obviously, we got. Is there anything we're going to be able to see you in next? Anything coming up? Have you got?
Yes, actually, I don't know when it's getting released, but I have the Holocaust film that I think I mentioned earlier.
Yeah, I was going to
Um,
ask about
it's called Thou Artist at War, and
that.
it's a Paramount release. So it's really up to Paramount when they want to put it in theaters, but it's doing
Okay.
its film festival run right now.
hmm
And I'm a supporting character in that, but it's this incredible true story of people. Like it's a true story of people that met and fell in love in the Plaszow concentration camp during the
Yeah.
Holocaust. So
Wow.
it's an amazing story to be a part of, especially as a Jewish woman. Like it was crazy because last year I got to do two of my dream roles, which was do a Holocaust film and do a
hmm
Western. So back to back, I was able to do both, two things that I've had on my wish list forever. But yeah, Thou Artist of War, it is probably projected to be hitting theaters around fall-ish.
uh-huh.
But that's the next thing outside of Elkhorn that you can see me in.
Fantastic, fantastic. See, there's part two of this interview is going to be for that
Exactly.
now.
Yeah. We can talk about it then.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I say because we'd love to bring you back on for another part two. That'd be great. And just talk
That'd
about
be
that
great.
too when it comes
I
out.
mean, this has been fun, so why not?
Thank you. And before I stop recording, I'm just looking at the time because I'll say again, you're someone I can talk to the whole night. Carry on. Is there anything you'd like to say before I stop the recording to people who are actually watching or listening to this one?
Oh yeah, well, keep watching Elkhorn. Give it some love, and I would really love to hear from the audience, like what you would like to see from this show and what more you would like to see from my character and the other characters. And I'm just like so curious about how you're perceiving the whole story and how you'd like to see it pan out. So tell me.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Tori. I shall stop there.